Hello, hello, hello. JLR investigates. Come on in, everyone. Come on in. We're going to talk about this crazy incident that happened here. We've been covering the political violence on both sides for the last month. A lot of things have been going on in reference to Donald Trump lately, but there's a few things we're going to talk about in reference to Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, running for President of the United States. And this guy right here, a 66-year-old man, Frank Carillo, has been arrested for making numerous online threats, like really serious threats against Kamala Harris on the social media site Getter. Have you guys ever been on Getter? I don't even go on Getter, but Gettrr, Getter. This is wild stuff, folks. This guy has a extensive criminal history of some craziness. And you always got to keep an eye out on these individuals that are doing these crazy acts because, you know, we always said tensions are high right now. Election season. There's a lot of rhetoric going on both sides, spewing back and forth, which brings the nut jobs out of the woodwork. So let's talk about this guy right here because he does have extended criminal record. What exactly did this guy do? Also, folks, we're going to talk about another incident, too, that happened in Pittsfield, Massachusetts with Kamala Harris's Secret Service agents breaking into a salon. Have you guys heard about that story and putting tape up on the security cameras? It's just some wild stuff. So that was like basically what's going on with the Kamala Harris campaign in the last week or so. So this guy right here, we're going to talk about this guy right here. I found another mug shot of him. His name is Frank Carillo. He's 66 years old, and he is from Winchester, Virginia. So what exactly did this guy do? I think there's some unhingedness to this, but these are the type of people we got to look out for that would actually get in their vehicles and drive to locations to meet these candidates or whatever like that. I think there's probably a mental health element to this case here, and but he's indicted federally. There's actually an indictment or a criminal complaint. I don't think he got indicted yet, but there's a criminal complaint filed against him. Zombie Nation, somebody said. Zombie Nation. So what exactly did this guy do and why? Well, what they're saying is, folks, I want to read this because they're saying Virginia man charged with making online threats against Kamala Harris. A Virginia man is facing federal charges of making online threats against Kamala Harris, the Democratic presidential nominee. Frank Lucio Carillo, 60, is like Italian, 66, was arrested Friday at his home in Winchester, Virginia. Authorities say Carillo made more than 4,300 posts on the conservative social media platform Getter that also targeted President Biden, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and other public officials. Harris was mentioned 19 times in posts made by an account linked to Carillo. They began less than a week after Biden dropped out of the presidential race, and Harris announced her candidacy. In a July 27th post directed at Harris, Carillo allegedly wrote that she does not have a snowball's chance in hell, and that he will cut her eyes out of your effing head while you're alive. In another one on the same day, he wrote he would find you and your blank family, and I'm going to kill you. He's directing it at Kamala, according to the criminal complaint. In February, this guy, well before Harris was running for president, he posted, "I have my AR-15 locked and loaded." The FBI began investigating Carillo after officials in Maricopa County, Arizona, alerted the agency about a possible threats made on Getter about the county recorder. So he's taken his wildness and craziness towards Maricopa County too. You know, Maricopa County, there's a lot of controversy whether election officials are legit or not there. You've been hearing a lot about Maricopa County when it comes to the elections After obtaining internet protocol, mobile device, and other information it believes links an online alias and the post to Carillo, the FBI searched his home and arrested him. According to the criminal complaint, Carillo told agents, "This is all over a comment, huh?" So he's going to play free speech. Oh, yeah, it's free speech. I can just say this. And then he urged them not to arrest the woman he lives with, saying, "She didn't do anything. I made the comments." Okay, so he admitted to it. Great. Agents seized a 9mm pistol from his residence, a AR-15 rifle, and thousands of rounds of ammunition from Carillo's home. Carillo made his initial appearance recently. Another hearing is scheduled next month. He faces up to 5 years in prison if convicted. Here's what the Western District of Virginia, the U.S. Attorney, said. Open political discourse is a cornerstone of American experience. We can disagree, we can argue, and we can debate. However, when these disagreements cross the line to threats of violence, law enforcement must step up. True, right? I mean, you could say whatever you want about someone, your thoughts and feelings, but when you get into when you cross that line and then you start making threats, it becomes a serious matter. It's not free speech. Threats are not free speech. It's not. You can't cry and yell fire in a theater and say that that's free speech. The attorney declined to comment. And then they say in this article, last month a gunman opened fire on Donald Trump, the Republican nominee, striking him in the ear during a Pennsylvania rally, killing one rally goer and wounding 2 others. By the way, the family at Corey just spoke. We'll play that interview in another live segment. A Secret Service counter-sniper killed the shooter. An Atlanta man pled guilty last week to making threats against Marjorie Taylor Greene. See how it goes on both sides? We'll call it out on both sides. Ray has repeatedly warned of an elevated threat environment for public officials. During the House Judiciary Committee last month, he said it reinforces our need at the FBI and our ongoing commitment to stay focused on the threats, on the mission, and on the people we do the work with and the people we do the work for. So now you know about this guy right here, right? Frank Carillo. He actually has an arrest in the past for urinating in public. This is his arrest in Maryland. So he has a urinating in public charge. He also has prior drug charges. And I think he has a harassment and terroristic threat charge in the past. So, he's now on the radar. There is a criminal complaint out against him. Unfortunately, I cannot read the criminal complaint due to the wild and crazy things he says in the graphic nature of the criminal complaint against him. It's filed in the Western District of Virginia. This is the affidavit for arrest warrant for this guy for what he did to Kamala. And he's charged with USC 871, threatening the President of the United States, on or occurring July 27th in the Western District of Virginia. So, this guy is basically is crazy here. But we're going to call out the craziness. Will he make bond? I think he's incarcerated, and I don't think they're going to let him out. And he'll probably most likely spend, if he doesn't have an extended criminal record, the PSI will come, and then he'll probably end up serving about 30 months. I'd say about 30. He faces up to 5 years. He's not going to get the statutory maximum on this because he doesn't really have a crazy extended criminal history. Probably get about 30 months for this, and then the election will be over. But it's a reminder that these nut jobs, and sometimes these nut jobs don't necessarily make the threats. They just come out of the woodwork and do the acts, like Thomas Matthew Crooks. Nothing on him, no social media that he's really said that he was going to do what he was going to do to Trump. And then sometimes you got people like this that talk. And sometimes you got a combination of both. Sometimes you got a combination, an individual that will talk and then actually walk. So it's all over the map, but it's good that, they acted and prevented this guy from doing some sort of craziness. Whether he, was going to do it or not, that remains to be seen. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this next. Reports. Secret Service broke into salon using bathroom during Harris campaign stop in Pittsfield. Vice President Kamala Harris held an event in Pittsfield last month. The owner of a nearby salon says agents taped over a security camera and entered without permission. Now, what in the world is this thing about? What in the world is this about? So there is a news report on this particular incident, and it's very, very strange because I do think the Kamala Harris campaign is on edge right now because of these threats, and just it's a lot of weirdness. A lot of weirdness.
Is making national headlines. The video captures the mysterious moments a hair salon was broken into in Pittsfield. It happened last month in the hours just before a fundraiser for Vice President Kamala Harris's visit to the Colonial Theater, which is right next to that hair salon. Something else also captured on video, a Secret Service agent on the salon's back porch covering up the camera lens. Dan Levy went to the Berkshires today to find out what happened and why. He joins us live right now from Pittsfield. Dan, good afternoon.
Sabrina, good afternoon. First, I want to show people the close proximity of the Colonial Theater to the salon where the break-in took place. The large brick wall, that is the back of the Colonial Theater. On the other side is downtown Pittsfield. That would be North Street. And this is the back parking lot I'm standing in. And this is the 413 Salon right behind it. And right now, I'm standing on the porch, the back porch, where this break-in took place. On the back porch of the 413 Salon, Saturday morning, July 27th, a United States Secret Service agent who was part of Vice President Kamala Harris's security detail is seen. The salon was closed for the day as crowds gathered at the Colonial Theater to hear the Vice President speak. At one point, the agent is seen pulling up a chair, climbing on top, and then placing a piece of tape over the lens. The Secret Service confirms that information. The owner of the shop, who arrived later in the day, told our media partners at the Berkshire Eagle that when she got there, it looked like the lock on the back door had been picked. She then checked the interior surveillance camera and spotted two women in uniform roaming around inside, apparently there to use the restrooms, but then they helped themselves to the mints in the candy bowl on the way out. A source tells me the intruders were local first responders and not Secret Service agents. Meanwhile, a Secret Service spokesperson told me by phone today that yes, the individual placing the tape over the camera was a Secret Service agent, but she never entered the salon to use the restroom, and she did not instruct anyone to use the restroom.
What in the world is this?
And even though the Secret Service insists their personnel was not involved in any way in this break-in, they have acknowledged that they're picking up the tab for the alarm system cost and for any cleanup that was required in the restroom. Coming up, all new at 5 o'clock, how legal is it for Secret Service agents to enter private property without permission? We'll examine that issue coming up. We're live in Pittsfield with coverage you can trust. Dan Levy, News Channel 13. Sabrina, back to you.
This is quite the talker. Dan, thank you.
Tonight, folks in the Berkshire County area and beyond might all be wondering the same thing. Is it legal for Secret Service agents to enter a private property like this right here without your permission?
Well, according to the Secret Service tonight, that's not what happened at a Pittsfield salon last month when Vice President Kamala Harris was attending a fundraiser next door. Because of conflicting media reports, there's a lot of confusion about what actually happened here. So we sent our Dan Levy to Pittsfield to sort out the strange circumstances. Dan joins us live with what he found out. Dan.
Hello, Rachel. Hello, Steve. Good evening to you from the Berkshires. All right, behind me is the Colonial Theater, and this all unfolded last month on the morning of July 27th. That's when Vice President Kamala Harris was attending a fundraiser inside the theater. Meanwhile, out here in back, this is the 413 Salon, and it seems that a Secret Service agent did climb up these steps and did place a piece of tape over that security camera. Now, I spoke on the phone with the Secret Service earlier today, and they confirmed that it was indeed one of their agents, but they insist none of their agents ever walked inside. Take a look at some of the video that we have from the surveillance system from inside the salon. It captures two women in uniform who are wandering around, and it appears that those women did use the restroom, and then they helped themselves to a handful of mints in the candy bowl on their way out. Now, sources have told me that the women were locals, part of the team of first responders responders who were on scene helping out Secret Service and other police security personnel. Now, keep in mind, Vice President Harris was speaking at the fundraiser at the theater next door. The incident raises a hypothetical question. Do Secret Service agents have the authority to enter private property without permission? In speaking with lawyers today and with Secret Service personnel, I can tell you that the answer to that question is an emphatic no.
Entering, using the bathroom, eating the candy, that part is not something that is normal and should not have happened.
And again, other attorneys that I spoke with today concur. It's never okay for Secret Service agents or any government agents, for that matter, to enter private property without permission or without a search warrant. Now, there were some expenses incurred by the owner here. Who's paying for that? That part of the story coming up all new at 6 o'clock. We're live in Pittsfield with coverage you can trust. Dan Levy, News Channel 13. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
We appreciate you covering it for us, Dan.
Tonight, the United States Secret Service is apologizing to a beauty shop owner in the Berkshires, even though the agency maintains its agents did not do anything beyond what it's supposed to do. Dan Levy has been in Pittsfield today searching for answers to this. He joins us live right now with what he has learned. Dan, good evening to you.
Good evening to you, Sabrina. I'm standing in the back parking lot of the Colonial Theater in downtown Pittsfield. Inside that theater back on July 27th, Vice President Kamala Harris was attending a fundraiser, and there were Secret Service agents and other local police present. They were swarming the area all day long. In the meantime, in the back parking lot at this beauty salon, something unusual happened on the back porch. Hours before the vice president showed up, surveillance video shows a Secret Service agent walking up onto the porch of the 413 Salon and then placing a piece of tape over the camera. Meanwhile, later in the day, interior surveillance video captures two women in the uniform wandering around inside the salon, using the bathroom, and then grabbing some candy in a dish on their way out. As has been explained to me by the Secret Service, it's just a coincidence that people wound up inside the salon shortly after the exterior camera lens was covered. But covering the lens, I'm told, is not unusual as a procedure for agents while in the course of protecting VIPs. Now, even though they would not elaborate on specific procedures or protocols, the Secret Service did issue a statement on the incident.
On the record, I could say that yes, that individual was a Secret Service agent, but she never entered the salon to use the restroom, nor did she open the door and instruct anyone to enter the salon.
All right, but even though the agency insists none of their agents entered the building, the Secret Service did apologize to the salon owner, and they agreed to pick up some cost because there is a cost that goes along with the alarm company showing up, and also there was some cleanup to be done in the bathroom, and that's taken care of by the Secret Service. We're live in Pittsfield with coverage you can trust. Dan Levy, News Channel 13. Sabrina, back to you.
The story making national headlines now. Dan, thank you.
What in the world is that? What in the world was that? A Secret Service in Pittsfield? That's breaking and entering. To me, that seems like a clear crime of breaking and entering. But it's just weird that Secret Service would cover up surveillance at nearby facilities. Theater, and cover up security cameras when a week prior, or not 2 weeks prior, right? 13th, this was the end of July. 2 weeks prior, the attempted assassination attempt of Trump, and you would think that they would want security cameras at events with political candidates so they could get all angles just in case something happens. But with this particular case, now they're trying to hide. What were they trying to hide? Why would they go to businesses and cover people's home security? First off, that's trespassing someone's property. You can't go onto someone's property and with some tape and go up there and cover up somebody's security cameras because you don't want them to see something. Where's your warrant? And then they're trying to say, well, it wasn't us that broke in. But then you got two workers or somebody there breaking into the salon and helping themselves to candy and using the restroom. To me, that's breaking and entering. But once again, the point I'm making is some weird stuff politically keep coming out on both sides. Both sides. J.D. Vance had technical problems on his airplane. Did you guys hear about that? Just a week after Trump had technical problems on his airplane. It's just the sense of weirdness, and I think something is brewing here, and these could be plots before, plots that maybe were plots but not plots. It's just weird stuff. Now, I'm not one of these tinfoil hat guys, but I just see things as it is, and it's just all these incidents regarding candidates. Look, this is what I'm talking about. Look at this. What's the coincidence that a Trump-oriented plane, and this time with J.D. Vance, what's the coincidence within a week of one another that Trump has a malfunction emergency and had to make a landing on his way to Montana, and now J.D. Vance makes emergency landing on his plane, unless these Trump planes are just garbage and junk. A charter plane carrying Republican candidate J.D. Vance was forced to make an emergency landing after a door malfunction. The Boeing 737 had departed from an airport in Milwaukee where the Ohio senator was attending a campaign event with police officers and had to turn back for repairs shortly after takeoff. After being fixed, the plane continued on to Cincinnati. Last week, former President Donald Trump was forced to divert course and make an emergency landing as he flew to his rally in Montana. Vance was traveling with his wife, his dog Atlas, his campaign staff, and reporters. The spokesman for Mr. Vance issued a statement saying the pilot advised that there was a malfunction with the door seal. After declaring an emergency, Trump Force 2 returned to Milwaukee. As soon as the issue was resolved, the plane returned to its originally planned flight path back to Cincinnati. The pilot made an announcement about 4 minutes into flight asking passengers to fasten their seat belts. Secret Service on board reached with confusion and laughter, and it was not immediately clear to some passengers that there was an emergency until after the plane had landed. The pilot reportedly came back over the intercom after landing and apologized for the elevated heart rates. What in the world is going on here with all this weird stuff? Coincidence or not? But those are some of the weird stuff that have been going on in the political sphere. Planes make emergency landings, threats going on back and forth at the candidates, Secret Service botching the Trump rally. Now Secret Service at a Kamala event in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, covering up security cameras. Can someone make sense out of any of this? Are they tampering with things? Who's tampering with what? Wild world we're living in. So that's our political segment for today, folks. Let me know what you think. If more people get arrested for making threats to either candidate, we will share their mugshots and expose them. We say no to all political violence, but I think something is brewing big. We hope nothing happens. We got very wild times ahead of us. So stay vigilant, my friends. Stay safe. And I'll keep you aware of the situation if anything else develops. JLR Investigates. Thanks for watching this segment. We'll talk soon. Stay tuned.